Welcome to Martini Time on this beautiful Sunday in Blackstone, where you are the center of the world and I'm the center of the world and everyone is the center of the world. But we'll get to that. So let's see what the frog brings up in the pond. The golden ball. Remember the fairy tale? And tonight's title, this talk, is New Moon and the Unicorn. So, I just remembered before we start that today is the new moon, which is an auspicious time because it's the rebirth. The whole lunar cycle, Easter is a lunar celebration. Easter is the full moon after the spring equinox, and this is the first new moon after the full moon of Easter. So the new moon is the birth. The moon dies, it goes into the tomb becomes a womb, and it's born again, and it recycles. And this was the sun, the lunar cycles and the sun were the formation of the first mythologies. Because remember, humanity is always didn't have city lights. We don't and live in towns like this. They lived in open spaces, so you saw this full moon going through its cycle in the planet. So this was these symbols, this mythology gave a structure to the human psyche. So we've kind of lost that now. I mean, we're all artificial. We live in cities and you can't see anything because of all the artificial lights. So we've lost contact with these cycles of the earth, you see, in these basic fundamental cycles of the human psyche. But they're still there. Still, farmers go to know you want to plant on the full moon. But anyway, so tonight's talk is on the new moon, and the unicorn. Now, why am I talking about the unicorn? Is that, well, today's my wife's birthday, and she got a present, little unicorn horn. See, you had it lighted up, but it won't show much on here. But you put it on here. You see, it's like this. So this is a unicorn, right? Now, the great myth of the Middle Ages, this is a little silly, but the great myth of the Middle Ages, which is in the tapestries of the cloisters, the New York Museum, huge tapestry showing the capture of the unicorn. And basically the capture, and this was the primary myth of the Middle Ages, because it was both pagan, in other words, the unicorn in nature has a pagan fundamental origin to it, and Europe was a pagan culture. Of course, Christianity is pagan, bad. But we don't realize how the mythologies of the Europeans is still living and working in our psyche, in our collective today. The American mythology of the individual following his dream, the individual following his nature, the individual creating businesses, the creative individual, the free individual, this is all pagan. Because Christianity, the religion says, don't obey your flesh, don't obey your nature, obey God. But the underlying mythology is of Europe was following your nature. And so the mythology of the unicorn, let me tell you that story briefly, is that if you want to have the unicorn and the unicorn always goes with a garden. Here's a garden. Here's a unicorn, okay? These go together to make stuff, to make bread, to whatever. This is the creative copulation of the cosmos, these two principles. And the garden, or the circle, is the goddess. And what is the goddess in mythology? But it's also lunar. But it's the fruition and the creativity of form. The realm of the goddess is form. That's things. That's everything that is. Everything that exists is in the womb of the goddess. But how do you make this dough rise? Where's the yeast to this dough? So the yeast to the dough, the yeast to the goddess, you see, is the unicorn. You put these together and the garden grows. So the unicorn is a transcendent principle, you see, where the garden is concrete, immanent, and the unicorn is transcendent of it. So it's kind of like spirit, So the religious terms, it's all in the Bible. The spirit enlivens the earth and all of that. You see, all of that is the mythological, metaphorical unicorn. So how do you get a unicorn? Well, the story of the unicorn is that you have to put a virgin in the forest, and this wild unicorn, who's kind of like Bigfoot, nobody's ever seen one, but it's there, will come and lay its head in her lap. He cannot resist the aroma of the pure mind. Now the virgin mind, you see, is not a fact. It is a metaphor for emptiness, empty mind. So you can't grow anything unless the womb is empty. Unless the garden is empty and you can't put seeds in it, it's all full of weeds. So it has to be empty. When it's empty, it attracts the unicorn. Boom, like that, you see. But if there's stuff in it, it won't work. If the womb is full of other stuff, it won't attract it. It's kind of like lightning. How do you attract lightning? Well, anyway, so how do you attract this unicorn? Bam! Well, you put a virgin in the forest, and he will put his head in her lap. And then the townspeople, the society, catches the unicorn and puts him in a garden and chains him to the tree. Now, the garden is the metaphor for the Garden of Eden. And there's the tree of life in the unicorn. When you look at these pictures, you go on Google and look it up, unicorn in the garden, you'll see a garden with a fence around it, and you see a tree full of fruit. And there is this little unicorn chained to the tree. And so the mythology is then you have to catch a unicorn, the transcendent principle, to impregnate the garden so it blooms and society is in alignment with the tree of life. So people are here. So I think you get the idea. Even here, everywhere I look, I see unicorns in the garden. See? A unicorn in the garden. So, not ironically, but back when we used to do stained glass, my wife and I, our stained glass studio was called the Glass Unicorn. And I just had this on my thing. Look at that. Here's somebody gave us that, two little unicorns. But basically, the myth is not two unicorns, but the garden and the unicorn. And this is also translated, it was acceptable in the Middle Ages, which was under the dominion of the Catholic Church, was that this is symbolism of religion. So Christ is the unicorn. And even in the story of in the story of Jesus, you see you have the Virgin Mary who attracts the Spirit, the unicorn of God, and gives birth to Christ, which is a new moon. So we're kind of like coming full circle here, So the new moon, the lunar cycle, is the moon is the symbol mythology of the goddess, and the dying and resurrected sun is the moon, which the Earth Mother is the Earth, and the moon circles around the Earth as the dying and resurrected son of the Mother. You see, the Virgin Mary has the son, Jesus, you see, and he is represented by the lunar cycle of the moon. And all of the mythologies of the world associated with the goddess all have a dying and resurrected son. During the time of Christ, in the Greek world, there were many mystical religions with the dying and resurrected son. Adonis in Greece, and Dionysius and Isis and Egypt, all of these cultures had the dying and resurrected son. So Christianity just incorporated this mythology, and so even Easter is celebrated within the lunar cycle of the dying and resurrected sun. And so but then when you get into the spiritual dimensions of non-duality and the transcendent way, when you move from mythological mind to spiritual mind, it becomes very psychological. So now the cycle of, all right, so you could say the cycles of the moon, the dying and resurrected of the moon, would be like the karma of Ground Hog Day. And if you remember that movie, Ground Hog Day, the day kept recycling. Every day it was the same day again. No one else knew it. Everybody else thought it was a new day. But this one hero, this one played by, what's his name, was aware that he was stuck. He needed a unicorn. The garden was just repeating itself. It was like a record repeating. And he was aware of it. So he needed an insight. He needed grace. So this whole idea of the unicorn then is grace. And the garden then, without the unicorn, becomes stuck, like a record repeating itself. And this is karma. This is like everything I do, I think I'm on a new track, and it just ends up to be the same old thing. It's different content, different people, but it's the same emotional pattern. I'm stuck, you see. The same emotional pattern. When we see that same emotional pattern, although the history, the time is different people, different place, but somehow I'm in a Groundhog Day. And I know I'm in that Groundhog Day when I realize that the deja vu. I've done this before. I'm stuck again. Here I am. I thought I was liberated and I'm stuck again. Groundhog Day, you see. That's the garden without a unicorn. That's the garden that's stuck in the lunar cycle. Wow. The dying and birth, redying and birth. See, so in Buddhism and the script, the older Buddhism, the mythological, but when it talks about wanting to be liberated from the cycle of birth and death, you see, we want to be liberated from reincarnation. I want to be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. But what that's really talking about is being liberated from the Groundhog Day that we get stuck into when we don't have a unicorn. It's the unicorn that frees the garden from its lunar cycle. And the unicorn comes from the sun. See, the sun and the moon, the sun is eternal. The sunlight is eternal. It's a penetrating light. It penetrates the darkness. It penetrates the lunar. It's a beam of light, you see, into the dark forest. It enlives. So the sun is like the yeast that enlivens the dough. The sun is like that beam of light that penetrates the lunar cycle of karma, you see. So we're interested in not in being free from reincarnation. That's kind of like, you can do that if you want, but that really is a diversion. Buddha didn't take much stock in it. He was interested in liberating from the recycling myself, my dying and being reborn as the same old me. Where is the new you? Where is the reborn you? Where is the creative you? Where is the enlivened you? Where is the passionate you, the joyous you? Where is that, you see? You need a unicorn. You need a unicorn, you see. So the way to get to be a unicorn is to empty yourself, is to let go, is to die. So the way for the lunar cycle, see, I'm mixing it all up here, hope you can follow. But when the moon dies, it goes into the 3-day tomb and it comes out new. So the 3-day tomb of the lunar cycle, you see, is in spiritual lore the dark night of the soul. It's a place you come in your life where you don't know what's up and what's down. It's like in Avatar, in Jake Sully, when he didn't know whether the sky people was real, or the Pandora was real. He had two worlds here. And I don't know which one is real. A lot of times we experience that in the morning. We wake up and we have a real intense dream, and there's a little moment there between the moon cycle when I don't know if the dream is real or the waking dream is real. There's a moment there where I don't know what's real. Is the dream I was in real, or is this bedroom I'm in real? Two dreams. What's real? I don't know. There's a moment of darkness there. There's a moment of not knowing. So the not knowing is the virgin mind. The mind that knows everything is not empty. I know Scripture. I know the Bible. I know the philosophy. What are you talking about? I know what's right. I know everything. All my knowledge, my reference is my memory, my knowledge, the collective knowledge, my reference is all of that, you see. But if you don't know, there's no reference. It's like the obelisk in this 2001 Space Odyssey. The obelisk appears. They don't know what it is. There's no reference. It doesn't refer to anything known, whether for the monkeys, the apes, or for the astronauts. You see, so when we break through the Ground Hog Day, we have to enter into the dark night of the soul, or the 3-day tomb womb, or just a moment of not knowing and asking, what's the truth here? What's going on here? What's my assumptions? Is this true or not? I don't know. Is this true? We're in a conflict. Should I do this or that? Somebody says I'm this, somebody says I'm that. I don't. And I'm conflicted. I got a rub. I'm repeating myself. I'm caught in a cycle, you see. What's the truth here? That's when that emptiness, that 3-day moment, that dark night, that emptiness between this and that, I know, all of the things I should know, I don't know. I'm empty. I don't know. I want to know what is. I ask. I ask myself, I ask God, I ask truth. Doesn't matter who you ask, you just question, what is the truth here? I'm empty, and I'm okay being empty. That's the point. It's very difficult to be empty. I got to know something. I got to be able to choose. If I can't choose, I go, wah, 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 panic attack. I have to, somebody else choose for me. I can't choose, you see. When I'm in I can't choose, we don't like it. We end up by having somebody else. We'll go see a therapist or a priest or go see a friend. Tell me what to do. Or we'll go on Facebook. What should I do? You see. But we're not happy with that. You see, that's the point. In order to be reborn, to invite the unicorn, we have to willingly go into death. We have to willingly go into not knowing. We have to willingly be okay with not knowing, with being dead, with being empty, which means there's no you. There's no ego. The ego exists because it knows what to do. But when the ego doesn't know what to do, it gets really lost. It's like you're in a forest and the compass doesn't work. I don't know where, or you're driving along and you doze off and you look up and you have no idea where you are. You've seen your moment. And you, wait, did I miss my turn? Where am I? I don't know. You see, so we experience these little lunar moments, these dark nights, and we don't like it. It's a panic. You see. So to invite the uniform, you have to go into the panic and rest in it and sit in the forest in not knowing where you are. And the unicorn will come and lay its head in your lap. And you will have an inception, an insight, a flash. The sun will penetrate the forest and enlighten you and make you rise again like a loaf of bread or the new moon. It all gets mixed together. Thanks for dropping in.